Now we're at the high school, our second tour for March 8th, Saturday, March 8th. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Buckley again for a little bit of history. He's a historian on the committee. And then we're going to go to our fearless leader, Michael Dudek, who's been here a couple of years now, who is the principal of the high school.
Good morning. Thanks, Bill. So here we are where really it all began. This facility opened in 1970. Was originally built as a junior-senior high school, grades 7 through 12, and was the creation of the Blackstone-Millville Regional School District. This building of about 170,000 square feet was constructed in the late 60s and opened in September of 1970. Total cost of the project about $4.3 million, of which over 80% was about 75% was returned from the state. This was a natural open piece of land that was once known as I believe the Very Farm, and there's actually a cemetery on the property that is still maintained by the different organizations here, and it replaced the old Blackstone High School, which is now where the library stands. So we'll turn this over to our fine high school principal, Mr. Dudek.
This is our A wing. Central offices are here, principal's office is here. There's a lot of activities. Students will come into the building using the main entrance. Our seniors have that privilege of being able to utilize the main entrance. Our main entrance is right here to our left. Our main offices are right here. Again, we have our assistant principal and the principal and myself are in this wing with our secretary. We do have a conference room that I utilize all the time. Again, this is our main offices. And if you look to the right, we have our conference room and our assistant principal and principal's office. We do have a few flat screen TVs in the building, which were new. We bought those and purchased those last year. It's a great way to sort of just advertise and market what we have in our buildings. Our kids really love seeing themselves on there. I update this personally probably once a week. We put our different awards that we have. Second quarter is up there as well. This picture of our pep rally. So it's something that students really look forward to.
You'll see several memorials along the corridors. This is to the two Big Neck boys, Matthew and Kevin. And both tragically taken at young ages, one accidentally, one from illness. And their families and their friends have perpetuated their memory and give a scholarship every year to a deserving senior. As well as next to that, a young lady, Jessica Hoppin, who passed young, and his family has kept her memory alive as well.
Again, we recently just painted this wing. This wing was a different color. We had a lot of pictures all over the place, and my idea with this wing was just to be able to highlight all the projects that students are doing. Right now, we're using this as our art exhibit. You'll see a lot of our self-portraits, and this is just an intro to art class, and kids are just using, I believe it's a simple chalk. Not that you can really see our courtyard yet, but when you go through the building, you'll be able to see through various windows our courtyard. We use the courtyard daily. Our seniors use it as a senior privilege. They can get out there for lunch, and we have picnic tables.
One of the original social studies teachers at Blackstone-Millville and the predecessor to Blackstone High School was Joe Struzek, a longtime athletic director and social studies teacher here, taken at a young age. Joe was a great guy. He was a teacher of mine, but he was more of a humanitarian, and it was students first with him. And unfortunately, Joe, in his lifetime, raised $700,000 for the Jimmy Fund. And ironically, he was taken by cancer at a young age of 45, left two young children that also graduated. So you'll see pictures here of former graduates, and a young man and a young woman are selected not only for their academic abilities, but also for their athletic abilities. So there really is a rubric that they use still to this day to choose this person, and it's really has been the focal point of the graduation or the awards night on the Struzek Award. So these young men and young women have gone on to do some great things. Just looking at some of these pictures, I see a doctor and a couple of lawyers just really quickly looking in there, as well as some great professionals that still make Blackstone their home, as well as some that have gone on to wonderful things.
This is our B wing. primarily the wings or the classes here are English and history on this side. This is a typical classroom. Our teachers decorate their rooms however they like. You'll see that there's a lot of student artwork. Miss Ostapenis actually has her BMR News on one side. Every single classroom has a smartboard, and our teachers utilize their smartboards. My first day of walking through our history department, literally every single teacher was using the smartboard, and I say it in a smart way. You'll see all the classrooms are connected, and again, I think that's a great way for teachers to just be able to walk into a room and observe and really just talk about lessons and instruction. Again, this is another English class, but I wanted to highlight a few of our electives that we have. When I walk in and I see Welcome to English and I see our face masks, this is a class that has multicultural literature. We like to balance our core classes with some creative electives. This is our B wing, or upper B. We do have a lower B. English and history primarily. The next area that we're going to go into is our guidance offices. This area, so this is essentially our guidance offices. You'll see this is an extremely busy area. There's a lot of students and a lot of traffic that comes through here. We do have a school psychologist in this area right here. We have 2 guidance counselors and we have an adjustment counselor. We just recently purchased Naviance last year, which is a guidance career counseling program that a lot of our students are utilizing, our parents are utilizing, and it's just a great way to focus students on, in 9th grade, the transition from 8th to 9th grade, looking at study skills, organization, what to think about. So this is our C wing, Ed Technology. We have our art classes up here. We have this is our science wing with some computer labs. So we'll walk down to the left. So I believe at one point this was a computer lab. So this is essentially an elective classroom with the commercial arts, the technology, the web design. If you look around, I mean, there's some great things happening. A lot of creative projects that kids are really getting involved in. So this is just another space that we have for computer labs.
This was the electric typewriter room. Typing 2. Typing 1 was next door. The manual devices, and then all these rooms here that went out in front of office practice. You know, one time we taught stenography. We taught all those business schools because, you know, when you hit 9th grade, you made a decision: was I in the business track or was I in the college track or general ed? This is
technically our videography room. This used to be a science classroom. You'll see that there are some still science lab materials in here, but we've moved videography the last couple of years to different rooms. You'll see that there's a lot of technology in here. Our videography class does a wonderful job. If you can get onto YouTube or you look at our BMR site, you'll see the TV news. There's so many different things going on with our yearbook sales. We have our Band-Aid Festival. So this is just a graphic arts course, and the students actually created that, and they take ownership of that. So this is our science wings. You'll see, we'll walk into, there's anatomy, there's physics, there's chemistry, we have forensics course. You'll see the setup. This is our prep room, so a lot of our labs with our teachers, they'll incorporate this room for all the supplies. They'll gather the supplies. This is one of our science course classes. We do have different electives, but this is primarily a bio room. We do have anatomy and physiology is in here. You'll see our older lab tables. Some of our teachers really love these in terms of that collaborative piece. Others may not always like it when we're looking at lecture. For me, this room is a great way to really use that project-based, that student-centered instruction that when they built the school in the 70s, I don't know if that was the thought process of project-based, student-centered learning. So this is Ellie Conrad. She's our department head in science. This is her room, and again, you can kind of see, you know, we've squeezed in tables and chairs and desks, and then we also have our lab space. She uses this room for a lot of what she does. She does teach anatomy and physiology, so that's why you see the different models. again, we do have smart boards in every single room, and she does utilize that digital anatomy and physiology. We have a foods and nutrition course here. It's an elective. We have a .5 teacher that does food and nutrition, and this is our kitchen prep area for our kids. You'll see that they have different workstations. So students need to really grasp how to be able to take care of themselves as much as possible. So there's a lot of etiquette when we're sitting at the dining room table. What do we do in the bedroom? How do we clean up after ourselves? There is some occupational therapy that happens when you're looking at some of the balls and floor pads that we have in here. But this to me is just once again an area of need. So essentially it's our print shop. So we have a lot of print shop in here. This is commercial arts, graphic arts 1 and 2, so that the kids, I mean, you'll see, Princess Monopoly. I mean, that's catered for a younger person, and I think if we could incorporate that and really create projects that benefit our community or our lower schools, I think that's a great thing. Printing projects that we have in the district actually come through here. So if we're looking at our parent handbooks or student handbooks, rather than outsourcing, we have our work orders that come from the elementary school or middle school, and the students actually produce it here. Walk into our art room. So you'll see it's a small space, but they do so much, whether it's pottery or the acrylics. This is a multi-purpose room. Students are doing anything from advanced ceramics to basic pottery to intro to art to AP Art Studio. The students some of them knew that we were having a little open house, so I know that they took a few of their pieces of work and they put it out on this on a bulletin. But again, they save their work, and I think this one of our students they use this as a self-portrait, and they looked at the boxes. I mean, this is probably a basic intro to art class in terms of that. So this is. This is our old wood shop area, but we've really thought about utilizing this space for something a little more than just wood shop or construction. This is where the STEM pieces are coming in. This is where the engineering design is coming in. When you look at some of these, this is just a piece of wood that they all got. So here's a problem. How are we going to create a carbon car that we can go and have a competition on? Carbon cars, I mean, they obviously designed them themselves, but they had a carbon cartridge that they were able to utilize. And when you look outside, I think they have almost like an NCAA tournament competition to see what car goes the farthest. Students who are engineering, I think these are towers. And you can see, actually, so this one actually broke. So I think they're looking at how much weight they could hold on to with a wooden structure, so they had to actually design this themselves. This is our gymnasium. You can see that we have practice in here. Color guard? Yes. Color guard. So I think it's a pretty large gym. It's a multi-purpose area. We have a wonderful pep rally that we have in the winter. So it's not that traditional, let's show off our basketball team and cheerleading team. It's a great way for our classes to get together. So before we get into the auditorium, this is our music room. You see that there's a lot of activity going on, but this is where they store all their instruments. They have band class, they have wind ensemble, chorus. If they're not using this area, then they'll be in the auditorium. You'll see the auditorium there's a lot of seats out there. Mr. Bebo, our music teacher, he uses this area for quite a lot of different courses. I think this gives you a unique vantage point over what our auditorium is. When I first came on board, I went through those doors, came down, and there was this huge ensemble of students that were up here. But I thought it's interesting when you come here. This is a 600 plus auditorium. We do have different sections where you can kind of separate the auditorium if you want to have a separate lecture or a practice. And we just redid our floors, so you can see there's a lot of patchwork, but we found money to be able to use this. This is a rented, this is utilized by the community for a lot of different things. We have several dance ensembles in here with the ballet and tap and jazz. Girl Scouts will come in here for meetings. So there's a lot with this area.
Both sides close off, yeah. We actually, what we use, when we separate into sectionals, that's what we close that off so that we can fit in there, we can do sectionals and stuff like that, so it goes off the sounds and stuff like that. If we have intimate concerts also, we like to close those off too, bring the audience up closer and stuff like that.
1963, they started to meet both towns started to meet and started to think about what value could they both have to build a high school. Millville never had a high school. Blackstone's high school was antiquated, built in the 30s and 40s, and had outused its usefulness, couldn't be expanded. One thing John Maloney really didn't see a value of in this construction was, why do we need an auditorium? And it's ironic that it's named for him. So I guess there is karma and there is irony. John was taken from us in 1977. A longtime member of this committee, was a selectman in Millville, was the former police chief, civil defense director, the Johnny on the spot. Charlie worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. He was an engineer. And you see his hard work and understanding of construction and civil engineering in this everywhere you go. This building has been open since the fall of 1970, so it's in its 44th year of operation, 45th year of operation. When they sold this to the towns, it was for a 50-year school. We're going to provide you a high school for 50 years. That was the selling point. You'll see to your right some of our hardware that we're so very, very proud of. One of the single things that tied the two towns together was the formation of a marching band in 1972. Blackstone had not had a Memorial Day parade in about 25 years. And through the efforts of Tom Hestey and the music department, we said, we want to have a parade to honor the two towns. So we marched in Blackstone in the morning and Millville in the afternoon on Memorial Day in 1972. And I'm proud to say that I was a member of the marching band in 1975 when we won the Cherry Blossom Parade in Washington, D.C. and really came home to a hero's welcome. The entire two towns were on the steps and in front of the school. The Wall of Fame, the district, really Keith Duchamp has been the mover and the shaker in the high school, and it recognizes distinguished faculty and distinguished alumni. It's not given out every year, it's every 2 years. We have a banquet in the spring, and we recognize both teachers and alumni who have made a difference and have contributed not only to Blackstone and Millville, but to society in general. You'll see a high school principal, a fire chief, an executive for a cable company, and a few doctors listed here. It's only been in existence, so I guess we've had 2. So the third will be this year. And then listed on the teachers, and many of these teachers, I'm proud to say that I was fortunate enough to have, as well as many of them are still with us in our communities and still contribute to the success of this school district. So this is really a well done display, and I'm glad that we're going to keep that up. So this is BMR. So step right up forward and get your tickets here.